Smackdown to a rogue left-wing low-level district court judge. Deport yourself now or you will be locked up and sent back to your home country. The era of American economic surrender. It's America first all the way. Despite fear-mongering by the media, the world is clearly responding to President Trump's approach. Countries are falling over themselves to reform their unfair trade practices and free open their markets to our country. Why? The jig is up. On the other hand, countries like China, who have chosen to retaliate and try to double down on their usher in an economic golden age for our country. Just look at Friday's jobs report. Smashed expectations. President Trump has secured an incredible $5 trillion in total investments already. The largest deregulatory effort in American history is underway. Unnecessary, burdensome, costly red tape is being eliminated. Republicans in Congress are working quickly to pass one big, beautiful bill, which will also include the largest tax cut in American history.
A couple questions for you. The first one being, can you explain the White House's evolution from this is not a negotiation on tariffs to countries should pitch us and start negotiations on tariffs?
As the president said yesterday, Jasmine, both things can be true at the same time, and it is a non-negotiable position. What makes the most sense for the American worker and for our industry, the president is focused on putting America first.
So was the evolution not factored in or determined by kind of the tumult in the stock market? Was that not a part of the consideration to start making these negotiations and deals?
Again, I would reject that there was an evolution.
The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, warned that some of these negotiations might take up to months, and then you had Kevin Hassett say it's going to take a lot for the president to put his signature on the line.
That includes Secretary Bessent and our National Economic Director, Kevin Hassett.
Peter Navarro guaranteed last night no recession.
Again, when you talk about the massive deregulatory efforts that are happening across the board, when you talk about how oil prices are down, gas prices are down, egg prices are down. But don't forget, the next side of this is tax cuts, and we're counting on Capitol Hill to get those done, the largest tax cuts in history.
Does that mean that without those tax cuts coming through, that the likelihood of a recession is greater?
No, that's not what I said. I'm just saying be mindful of...
It's clear the president has found the world's attention with these tariffs. Is he considering at all potentially holding off on imposing some of them before the deadline, or maybe later, reversing them because he's having these negotiations and having these good talks with other leaders?
The president was asked and answered this yesterday. He said he's not considering an extension or delay. I spoke to him before this briefing. That was not his mindset.
Musk actually referred to Navarro today as being, quote, dumber than a sack of bricks.
Boys will be boys, and we will let their public sparring continue. And you guys should all be very grateful. I think the president, again, is going to have a custom, tailor-made approach to each and every country. It will be, as the president said again, tailor-made, not off the rack to each and every country based on America's needs. We called on the Supreme Court to rein in these judges who are acting as judicial activists. In the back row.
Thanks, Caroline. On the president's threat yesterday on social media to increase tariffs against China by an additional 50% in response to their retaliation, has he signed anything in terms of an executive order, any documentation around that? Will that additional 50% go into effect tomorrow?
They will be going into effect at 12:01 a.m. tonight, so effectively tomorrow, yes.
Work on that today?
Of course, as always. I'll come to you after, Ed.
All right.
Not discriminating here.
The president is meeting today with...
Your response.
I saw that reporting. I don't want to confirm it from this podium. I don't want to comment on it because I'm not sure, but I would defer you to the National Security Council.
So you haven't confirmed the report, but with Mexico's president saying that she rejects any of that, what would your response be?
First of all, the relationship between President Sheinbaum and President Trump is quite good.